Do you hear that sigh, softly released from your chest after a long, weary day out there? There are late afternoons when the city begins to light up. Traffic rushes busily to and fro, and you stand by the window or stand still amidst a sea of strangers, suddenly feeling an bone-deep fatigue with no one to confide in. You are very tired, aren't you? You are not tired because you worked too much today, but because your mind is carrying countless distant scenes that have never happened, and clinging to pains you thought were buried at the bottom of the river of memories. Yet occasionally they still churn up into waves of cold, deep water.
We are often advised to let time wash everything away, to try to forget the past hurts, as if letting the fog dissipate under the sunlight. So, whenever a storm approaches, you hurriedly put on a forced smile, trying to suppress the salty tears within. But, my dear friend, the more you struggle in the quagmire of anger and anxiety, the deeper you sink into suffering. Pain is not like a drop of morning dew that can easily evaporate and vanish. Tonight, in this boundless stillness, please relax your tired, burdened shoulders. Let us sit together. We will no longer force ourselves to forget or deny anything anymore. Because there are pains that pass through a human life, not to be buried in the darkness, but as cool, healing waters that awaken consciousness, helping our souls transform, empathize, and mature in tranquility amidst the myriad storms of human existence.
Try to close your eyes and imagine your mind as a river rushing through the great wilderness. Since childhood, that river was inherently crystal clear and calm, reflecting the brilliant sun and the white clouds drifting leisurely. However, human life always brings unexpected tremors, a sharp, piercing word from someone you trusted deeply, a betrayal that tears at your heart, a sudden loss that steals away your most peaceful refuge. All these wounds are like giant, jagged, rough boulders rumbling down from high cliffs straight into the river of your consciousness. That horrific collision creates white, foamy waves, stirring up the depths of your heart, sowing into the bottom water's cold whirlpools of resentment, bitterness, and indescribable sorrow.
Humanity's first reflex when facing pain is often denial. We fear the underground currents churning within, fear the feeling of the chest tightening and breath hitching whenever memories flood back. Thus, amidst the hurried and chaotic pace of modern life, you seek every way to build levees against the waves. You plunge into work until your body is exhausted. You slide down the endless void of smartphone screens deep into the night to fill the silent voids. You bury yourself in the noise of the crowd just to avoid having to talk to yourself. You deceive yourself that time will erode everything, that as long as you do not look, that boulder of injury will automatically evaporate and disappear.
But, my dear, a river can never flow backward, and water cannot stop flowing just because of a few obstacles in its path. The more you try to build forced dams to block the flow of memory, the more terrible the water pressure against the dam wall becomes. Pain, when suppressed, buried in the mud of forced oblivion, will silently leak out a toxic fog. That fog lurks, creeping into every dream of the night, causing you to startle awake many times with a forehead covered in cold sweat and a hollow heart. That fog makes you wary of new loves, makes your eyes look at life through a layer of defensive, fearful film. You realize that no matter how much you try to forget, the boulder of pain still lies silently right there, at the deep bottom, day and night heavily weighing, blocking the source of life.
Let me tell you the story of a woman living in the heart of our bustling modern city. She is the model everyone admires, a dream job in a building sparkling with glass and steel, perfect clothes without a single wrinkle, and a smile always on her lips, even though pressure surrounds her from dawn until late at night. Friends call her the Iron Lady, because it seems no storm can knock her down. Yet no one knows that behind that tough exterior is a river being strangled. Years ago, she gave her full trust and youth to a man, only to receive in return a cruel betrayal, along with verbal abuse that trampled upon all her self-respect. The boulder of that collapse fell straight onto her heart. Instead of facing it, she chose to build a solid levee named busyness. She worked over a dozen hours every day, forcing herself into endless social engagements, never allowing herself a single moment of silence, because she feared that as soon as the space subsided, the roaring of the floodwaters of resentment would tear her eardrums apart.
Until one late afternoon, when the city was submerged in a torrential downpour, the building's electrical system suddenly failed. Standing amidst the dim apartment, hearing only the rhythm of the cold rain against the glass, her phone dead and cast aside on the sofa, the silence she always fled from finally arrived. The fragile levee crumbled. Bitter memories surged up like muddy, dark water, roaring and swallowing her whole. She collapsed onto the cold floor, clutching her face and sobbing like a child. After so many years of straining to escape, the boulder of injury remained intact there, sharp and tearing at her heart. A few days after that crisis, she decided to take leave, leaving behind the noisy city to find a small wooden house hidden by a stream in the mist-covered great forest. Every morning, she would just go sit silently by the stream. She sat there, curled up, her vacant eyes watching the water diligently flowing. In the heart of that stream, there were countless black, barren, submerged rocks. Water poured down from the headwaters, crashing strongly against the rocks blocking the path, shattering into thousands of white, foamy water droplets, then merging again, continuing to rush toward the downstream. Day after day observing, a simple truth began to seep into her consciousness, gently unveiling the murky fog. She realized that the water felt no resentment towards the rocks that obstructed its path. The water did not exert itself to get rid of the rocks from the streambed in search of absolute stillness.
Water is extremely soft, yet it carries within itself a great capacity for containment. Water chooses to embrace the rocks, envelop them, and curve itself to flow around them. The flow never stops because of the appearance of obstacles. Over time, that seemingly painful friction smooths out every rugged, bumpy edge of the rock. And wonderfully, the very presence of those rocks blocking the stream creates those clear, trickling sounds, making the most magnificent music of the deep forest. Without the rocks, the stream would just be a flat, silent canal. The teardrop of awakening slowly rolled down the woman's cheek. The sound of water echoing in the stillness shattered the frost in her soul. She understood that the pain she endured was that very black boulder at the bottom of the water. Throughout the years, she had used resentment to blame, used noisy busyness to reject and suppress, forcing the river of her mind to become a stagnant pond, silent but rotting and reeking of internal agony. The pain born in a human life is not a mistake of creation to be hated, nor is it trash to be dug up and thrown away with sheer strength. It exists there to test the capacity of your heart, to broaden the banks of compassion, and to teach you how to bend and embrace all phenomena.
True healing amidst this chaotic modern life has never meant erasing memories, turning the brain into a pristine sheet of paper without a single scar. Healing is a tranquil journey where you courageously shed the thorny armor, turn back, and face head-on the boulder of injury lying at the bottom of your river. That is the moment you no longer resist the pain. When sad memories flood back like a cold, wet fog on a lonely night, instead of panicking and fleeing, allow yourself to sit down. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Feel the chill of the fog caressing your skin. Feel the constriction in your chest. Just let the tears fall. Do not suppress them. Tears are the body's warmest, most primordial, and purest water, overflowing to soften the calluses, washing away the mud of resentment, clinging to the boulder of pain.
Touch your pain with gentleness and compassion, like a mother cradling a crying child frightened by fear. Say to the battered child within you, I am here. I see you are hurting. I acknowledge this injury, but I will not let it drown us. Gradually use mindful breathing as a small boat, following the flow of water to observe that boulder. You will realize that those who caused your wounds amidst this bustling mortal world, whether it be a nasty colleague, a shoulder you once shared a bed with, or even parents who unintentionally uttered harsh words, they themselves are just wandering souls. They are governed by the ignorant currents of the pressure to survive, of jealousy, or of personal miseries unresolved from their own past. They collide with you, sow wounds upon you, because their own internal vessels are filled with insecurity and darkness. As understanding slowly permeates your consciousness, like the morning sun piercing the dense fog on the river, you will see resentment gradually evaporate, giving way to a profound compassion. You do not need to force yourself to forgive hastily when your heart is still bleeding, but understanding will help loosen the shackles that you have so long bound yourself to regarding the past.
And then, following the eternal flow of time and awakening, you will be surprised to realize a miraculous transformation. Those very boulders of injury blocking the flow, those painful stumbles that seem to want to drain your life force, are the catalysts for your river of the soul to be carved deeper, to widen the realm of compassion. If a flow of water just runs smoothly on a flat surface, never encountering a pebble or a root, it will forever remain a shallow, weak canal. But when a powerful current rushes past sharp, jagged cliffs, it has the opportunity to create white foam, creating magnificent waterfalls, roaring the majestic epic of life. People who have been hurt to the core, who have tasted the bitter flavor of abandonment or loss amidst the rush of life, when they know how to heal through acceptance, they become strangely profound and gentle. Their eyes may carry the melancholy of the years,
but they are as calm and clear as an autumn lake, capable of seeing through and embracing the pain of all things around them.
The pain has shattered the selfish, vain shell of the arrogant ego that always craved flawless perfection to clear a source of overflowing empathy. You become more patient with the shortcomings of others, listen more instead of judging impulsively, and know how to offer a warm hand to support a stranger struggling amidst the city's pressures, because more than anyone else, you have tasted the feeling of struggling in the cold water without a single anchor. That is the true maturity that the universe wants to bestow upon you, wrapped in a rough, blood-stained shell called adversity. We do not mature by rejecting the past, nor do we become stronger by turning our hearts into a cold, unfeeling block of ice, shutting every door to love. We mature when we know how to contain, when our soul is vast enough to contain both the warm sunlight and the dark storms, both the happy smiles and the parting tears, while the water inside remains undisturbed.
Do not blame the river of life for carrying so many boulders. A great river is a river that carries countless sediments and pebbles to build fertile deltas. You of today, sitting and listening to these silent sounds, may still be carrying a boulder of pain in your chest that you haven't managed to erode yet, still having underground waves that occasionally ache in the quiet night. But please, do not panic, and do not hurriedly cover it up under layers of screens and illusions. Just let the flow of compassion and mindful breathing gently brush over it every day. Just be peaceful, patient, soft, and ceaseless. Then a time will come when, looking back, you will see that the sharp boulder of the past has turned into a harmless, soft, mossy pebble, and you will smile, realizing that thanks to that pain, you now have a present that is profound, steady, and overflowing with such radiant love.
After all the churning of the river of the mind that we have just traversed together, do you realize a gentle, indescribable truth that is present? We spend a whole lifetime running away from sad memories, finding every way to uproot the rough boulders from the river of the mind, with a naive belief that peace is an absolute calm water surface, without a cloud, without a single stone. But nature has never operated in such a shallow way. A river without submerged stones, without winding bends or rapids sending up white foam, would forever be just an artificial canal, silent, weak, and soulless. Pain in human life is the same. It is not born for us to try to force ourselves to forget, nor is it present to drown us in the depths of despair. Pain appears to deepen the banks of compassion, so that the flow of empathy within you becomes vaster, wider. Instead of trying to deny it, we learn to remember those wounds with a gaze that has been cleansed, clear, and calm.
Do not force yourself to forget the days you dedicated yourself to sacrifice, only to receive cold turning away in return. Forgetting is essentially just a way to deceive the mind, an attempt to hide the toxic fog in a locked box deep in your chest. True maturity of a human life begins from the moment you stop blaming the flow of fate. Dare to look through that murky fog, see the presence of the boulder of pain clearly, smile gently at it, and continue to let the water of life flow over. The stumbles, the betrayals, the bitter tears that once fell into this chaotic mortal world are not trash to be thrown away, but are invaluable sediments, building the depth and steadiness of your soul today. When you stop resisting, you will see that pain is no longer a sharp blade, but has turned into a silent teacher, teaching you how to love yourself and love all the flawed living beings out there. Tonight, when the city outside the window has sunk into a peaceful sleep, when the noisy sounds of the street give way to primordial silence, I want to invite you to perform a simple cleansing ritual for your soul. When you lie down on your familiar bed, close your eyes and relax your whole body. Do not rush into sleep carrying the heavy burdens of a long day. Imagine your mind at this moment is a peaceful, crystal clear river flowing leisurely under a starlit sky. When a sad memory, an injury, or an old resentment suddenly surfaces, do not panic and grab at the logical levees to block it. Just let it be there, like a mossy boulder lying silently at the bottom of the water.
You just need to take a deep, slow and gentle breath, feeling the cool life force circulating, carrying the healing water to embrace that boulder. And as you slowly exhale, let that water gently glide over, washing away the mud of resentment, washing away the fog of self-reproach, retaining only the clarity of understanding. Just like that, every inhalation is a time you welcome pain with the boundless tolerance of the ocean. Every exhalation is a time you use the flexibility of the water to smooth out its sharp edges. You will feel your chest suddenly become light. Wounds, no matter how deep they once were, when bathed every day in the water of mindfulness and empathy, will automatically scab over and turn into a perfect, serene pearl.
The space tonight seems to be slowly receding, gently leaning in to embrace your instability and scratches. If the whispers of still mind Dharma this evening have accidentally touched a hidden corner that is bleeding in your soul, if it helps you shed a withered leaf that is tightly pinned to your heart, please linger a little longer. Consider the silent space below as the most peaceful stretch of the river. Have the courage to entrust here the boulders of injury, the bitter memories that you do not want to carry alone for another day. Just type out the words from the depths of your heart. Courageously call out the pain that has kept you awake, as a way to let that stone sink to the bottom of the water and let go forever. Your presence and resonance are the warmest candle, lighting the path we are walking together. Do not forget to keep these seeds of kindness by liking and subscribing to the channel, so we can continue to meet and together clear the sources of peace in the next journeys of tranquility.